Our next speaker is Andy Gunson. He'll be talking about collecting and managing test day data. Andy's one of the industry's pioneers, who's not only a qualified process engineer, but a sheep milk producer who's been putting a huge amount of effort into the genetic development of his flock. Welcome, Andy.
Thanks for the introduction. Kat and I, for those who don't know us, we've been sort of plugging away in this industry for sort of about 10 years now, 5 years of commercial milking. One of the things that we're pretty small. I think our total number of sheep is about 300. And we started some pretty exciting work as an outcome of the first conference here, meeting some really good people, learning a whole bunch of stuff. And so this is a little bit of a summary about what we've learned at a small scale when you're funding your own development. So, so this presentation, just some practical considerations of what's possible to record, just some useful methods that we've found, limitations of qualitative assessment, some of the embarrassing things that we've done that haven't really worked, and how to use the data in practice. Oh, by the way, one of the things that we've learned pretty, what's the right way of describing it? Learning things that's been done the hard way with our own money, and in this industry, your planning can be as much as 12 months, 18 months out, so you cock up your planning, you cock up your season. Those two pictures, typical Hawke's Bay environment, only about 5 k's apart, same time of the year. Which do you think you've been milking sheep off? So just some data, the benefits of recording perhaps. So 2 seasons, how much milk we collected. By days, what I'm talking about there is just the effort we've had to put into milking basically. So, same sheep, pretty much the same feed, by recording quantitative data, making some decisions as the season went on, essentially chopping off the back end of the bell-shaped curve as we were going. We took a 9% reduction in the amount of milking we were doing. We increased our production about 15%. One of the most important things, I think, as well, is the intangibles. So, the decision-making process that you have, essentially if you're going to be recording, you're primarily doing it for economic benefit, but there's a hell of a lot else that's going on in the background. An embarrassing story, U1076. So 4 seasons of being bred to a terminal sire, bugger. She produced an awful lot of milk for us, and when we started measuring, we realised that qualitatively looking at the animal and coming up with some sort of BS score of how she was performing in our milking system, we were totally wrong. And this girl was pretty much pumping for us at 150 days, 438 litres of milk under the curve. And also in terms of total milk solids yield, she was pumping as well. We don't actually have a ewe lamb out of that girl yet. She was born in 2010. So just some of our objectives. We were really about, we've talked a lot about genetics and things so far today, but on our little farm system, we were basically about how much energy can we produce off a given area, how efficiently could we harvest that energy and turn it into a food product that somebody wanted. So the plan to get there was essentially about reducing the cost of a megajoule of high energy feed, increasing the animal's production, and really trying to get down the amount of time we're spending in the dairy shed or working with the sheep so we could have a life. So what to measure? So at the feeding level, we wanted to match what the sheep preferred to eat, and what we could grow at a very low cost structure. So Lucy had met that objective. that picture there really is just saying the part of the plant that the animal is eating and what it's leaving behind. So for us, it's leaving behind the 8 megajoules. It's taking away the 12 megajoules. That's exactly what we want. We want that over as much of the season as possible. And the thing about a plant like lucerne, its cost structure over its lifetime, it's a very persistent plant. You look after it right, it looks after you in terms of cost. Moving on to the animals. So what can we measure? Okay, so we can record a whole lot of stuff about the ewe's family. We can record a whole lot of stuff about the traits for production pretty easily, and at a small scale. Don't be scared to start looking at things like your milk solids production, because it is really easy to capture and record. Live weight, body condition score takes a bit more practice, but it can be done. And also our lambing performance. So just some information on what's possible. So just what we did was we went out and just looked for what are other industries using for their data capture. So we got ourselves an XR 5000 true test indicator unit, started electronic tags. You can kind of see the milk meter in the background there. So really, once we got used to using this, once we got used to electronic tags and actually collecting the data, you can pretty soon develop records for your animals that are very, very, very useful. Just a bit of an idea of the tools of the trade if you're at the small end of things and you're trying to fund it yourself. Electronic tags, XR 5000, some meters, fishing net. It's got a weigh scale down here so you can get your lamb weights when they're born. Yeah, some more embarrassing stuff. So we've done a bunch of reading about sort of objective assessments and started recording for our ewes. We did that 4 times over a season, and really it was one of our concerns was mainly around how easy the gills were to milk and try to drive that cost down in terms of how much time we were spending in the shed. So what we've got here, teat placement, two different lots of teat placement assessments. Each one of these dots represents a ewe. If we had got our assessment, our qualitative assessment right, and consistent, repeatable, reproducible, it should have sat on that line. So we obviously had some complete cock-ups up here, recording or otherwise. I don't know what happened there, or whether it was something strange happening. Likewise out here. So if you go back to that previous scale, so we're doing like a 9-point scale. And where we've got all these call-outs, there's actually sort of half a dozen points in that spot there. So 5 out of 2 is clearly not able to be used very, very well to do much selection. So we really do need some practice in terms of our objective assessments. Sorry. So again, decision making. So we had a couple of commercial things happen to us in the previous season that meant that some of our drivers for collecting every last drop of milk actually weren't there anymore. And what we decided to do quite early on, even before we started milking, was to we were frustrated with how much time we were spending in the shed trying to get every last drop of milk out of these animals. So we're doing a lot of udder manipulation in 2015 season. 2016 season, we both looked at each other and said, right, stuff it. We're not going to touch that. Yeah, we're basically going to whack the cups on. We're going to milk to a timer, a third of the time we used to spend, and we're going to see what happens. So just looking at individual ewes, I'm not saying this is anything like statistically significant, but what I want to get across is the fact that you can measure and you can observe and you can see what's going on in your system. So what we're looking at here, so the blue and the orange, 2015 season, the bottom line is their first letdown yield. So this is the amount of milk that comes out of the udder without us touching it, basically. So that's measured. And then we also strip the remaining volume of milk and record it. So basically, say with this ewe, 3091, on this particular test day, she was say 0.55 litres, and then her total capacity that we could get out of the milk was just over 800 millilitres. So the following season, and also we realised there's environmental effects and there's all sorts of other things going on. No udder manipulation. So her first test day, the amount of milk she let down first time, she didn't give us any more, no matter how much we mucked around, bumped with the udder, played with it. Later on in the season, as it went on, she did sort of regress a little bit. But another ewe, similar sort of pattern. Season when we're doing udder manipulation, season when we're not doing udder manipulation. Yeah, I think you could say with her, we probably took a hit on her yield. Another one, this girl was probably weaned straight away for some reason in the 2016 season, but again, there's a bit of difference with the girl when she had udder manipulation that season versus this season. But she's not overlapping in terms of her milk curve there. So again, not statistically significant, but my hypothesis is that we're actually conditioning these ewes by our milking practices. And that's pretty much what I had to share. So if anyone has any questions.
Thanks for that, Andy. Anybody got any questions they'd like to ask? Yeah, one down the back. We've got a mic coming for you.
G'day Andy, it's Greg. Look, with the udder manipulation, did you correlate anything to do with mastitis in there, like not milking those ewes out fully?
Yeah, if I can just jump back a bit. So, as you can see on our test days with our sampling, we are taking records of somatic cell counts. So, I have a day job and we're running farm at the same time, and even just to crunch the numbers just to get to where I showed at the end of there is a fair bit of time. So I haven't actually done that work, but I guess the point I'd make is that we've recorded that information, and if we go back and hunt it out, I could find it. So the answer is no, I haven't done any correlation there. But in terms of our ability to do it, yes, if I sat down and mucked around with the numbers a bit, I could do it.
We just found that if we didn't milk out like some sort of situations, our mastitis actually increased. So we really needed, just for hygiene purposes and animal welfare, to really milk those ewes out.
Yeah, I would actually dispute that. Well, not dispute it, but say I've got different observations. You can see this girl here, like between the seasons, her somatic cell counts didn't really change too much. So over the season, what we also didn't see is in our bulk milk samples, we didn't see a huge change from our average somatic cell counts, if that helps across the season. But we probably would be the right way of putting it. We had a lot of animals we just chucked out that were obviously not coping, so we were tinkering, if you like, with it, because we didn't have a commercial driver to produce as many litres as possible as milk last season, so we were essentially going, if you can't cope, you're out.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Andy. Thanks for the presentation.
Cheers.